Week 3 of ModPo. Welcome to week 3. We begin now a little bit of a history, a selective history of the rise of modernism in poetry in the United States. Week 3 is divided into two sections, Chapter 2.1 and Chapter 2.2. Don't be fooled by the use of the term chapters. We think of ModPo as kind of a story, as you would get in a book. So forgive us the confusing word. But Chapter 2.1 is a quick survey of a certain movement of modernism, namely Imagism. And Chapter 2.2 is a look at one of these figures, William Carlos Williams, as an imagist and an early experimental modernist. There's a lot of poems here, but the videos are short. The poems are very, very short, as was Imagism's way. The videos are brief as well, so don't be put off by the number of poems and videos that you have facing you in week 3. In the first part, Chapter 2.1 of week 3, we'll be looking at a variety of poems in this Imagist mode. And again, Imagism is a movement we chose. It was a brief movement, but it's really exemplary when you want to think about the characteristics and qualities of early modernism in the early 20th century in the world of poetry. We could have chosen Cubism, we could have chosen Vorticism, we could have chosen Surrealism a little later, but we chose Imagism. And representing the Imagist revolution is H.D., Hilda Doolittle, a famous haiku-like poem by Ezra Pound. And we'll look at Wallace Stevens' 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, which is in each of its sections Imagist, but as a whole more Cubist. And also we'll be looking at the selection of the poems of Tonya Foster she's a contemporary poet, so we've thrown in someone who is influenced by this aspect of modernism much, much later. It's a book called A Swarm of Bees in High Court. It's a recent book. And what we've done there is we've chosen from Tonya Foster's book a series of paired haiku from that book to give you a sense of the ongoing influence of the radical condensation in the Imagist movement of the early 20th century. Now, talking about haiku, it's really important to note, and you'll know it through any kind of investigation in HD and Pound, in this early moment of the 19-teens, 1912 to maybe 1919, the importance of traditional Asian poetic forms, and in some cases the poets made a serious study of, for instance, Japanese poetry. In other cases, it's sort of brutal or unthinking cultural appropriation. More about that in a second. But we have added to ModPo Plus a number of 3 actually poems and videos there in which we see Japanese poets who were influenced by English and American Imagism, which was in turn influenced by traditional Japanese haiku. So we're interested in poets who are culturally cross-influencing each other. And one example of that is a poem by Junzaburo Nishiwaki. It's called Rain, and it was influenced by H.D.'s Oread, O-R-E-A-D, which in turn was influenced by the Japanese poetic tradition. So go to ModPo Plus. The way to go to ModPo Plus is to click on Resources. At the left side of any ModPo page, you will see a menu, and in that menu, click Resources and then look for ModPo Plus Part 1 and ModPo Plus Part 2. There's an audio introduction that you can click on following this video introduction. It's 25 minutes long and it comes with a transcript. You can also, if you're satisfied with this brief video introduction, skip that audio intro or come back to it later. There's also a head note written, a text head note at the beginning of the chapter, and I hope you'll look at that. And finally, let me add that this is a week when ModPo people all over, even those who didn't write essays themselves, are reviewing and commenting on others' essays. So we hope you'll take a look at what other people, other ModPoers have done in writing and submitting their essays from the previous week and write some comments and review. So it's week 3. We get into modernism, and we hope you enjoy it. Next week, week 4, will be one more week, another look at the rise of modernism, looking at Gertrude Stein and some other, let's just say, extreme experimenters. So weeks 3 and 4 are both chapter 2, and we hope you enjoy them.